you name it. Like, it drives me crazy when people are like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm graduating with a finance degree and I don't even understand what finance is. Well, you understand something. You didn't graduate with reasonably good grades and not learn something. But you're so focused on, I don't like finance because I don't want to sit behind a desk and I want to be out in the world. I do finance every day. Right. I do accounting every day. Yeah. I do law every day. Like, every day I do some part of whatever you took in school, you're going to need. Right? So that's number one. Burning the boat is without question what most entrepreneurs do. I don't have like a B plan. You know, people are like, oh, have a B plan. When I say, like, go out and buy a $20 shirt and figure out if it's your style, and maybe you buy 3 of them and test it out for a week as opposed to putting it on once and never having another one, is different than going out and buying a $2,500 suit.
Right.
And the reason for it is because I could still take the $2,500 and have a whole wardrobe. So it's just being more clever with spend.
Yeah.
Because if you don't break it down for young entrepreneurs or people that have jobs that don't want to work for somebody, if they don't understand, you don't need a lot of money. You just got to be clever and you got to be smart on where you spend your money so that you can keep taking, like, inching along until you test enough to know that, hey, I got something sticky here. Hi, I'm Eugene Aletto. I am the quarterback here at BedGear, and you are Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the show. Eugene, welcome.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for having us to your world headquarters, somewhere in a secret location. I usually ask my guests, how did you get this job?
The job?
Yeah.
I created it, right? So I didn't go to school to be a CEO. I didn't go to school to be a founder. Started out in sales, and you put one foot in front of the other. And next thing you know, you wind up with a company. But my mom always said, her big thing was, you better figure out how to make some money so you could hire people to do the things that you really are not good at. I was a terrible speller. I couldn't do punctuation. I didn't do well in school. And so I followed along, and at some particular point, I hired my first person, and that's how I got started.
All right, let's take it back in the chronology a little bit. I'm always fascinated, and a lot of our audience, of course, they're founders, entrepreneurs, startup business owners, but some of them are also just getting started, trying to find their path. And I like to ask this question for younger people. Like, how did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? You said you weren't great at spelling, or maybe, not great at school. Did your mom work? What did she do?
Yeah, so I was raised by a single mom. My mom was, my dad passed when I was turning 15 and left us. I was the oldest of 4, and then my mom was a nurse.
So hard. Wow.
It was pretty wild growing up, but Mom always taught us not to be victims and just, get up the next day and just keep going. And what I can say is that I didn't have a clear direction in my life, but I had to get a job. Yeah. And so while I was in school, I was working.
Mm-hmm. And you have 4 siblings, you say?
We did. Unfortunately, I did lose a brother at 42, about 12, 13 years ago. So there's 3 of us left.
Are you the oldest? Where are you in the ranking?
I'm the oldest.
Okay, that tracks.
Yeah. So what's interesting, though, is that when and I have 3 kids that are going through this right now, like, what am I going to be when I grow up, kind of a thing. A lot of social pressure.
Yeah. What do you tell them?
Which is the same thing my mom did. Stop looking for the perfect thing and just get a job. And try to get a job that is going to have you meet other people. And as a particular, if you want to be in a particular field, try to get a job within at least that field. Like I see a lot of people, if you're going to be in the restaurant business, yes, it makes sense to be a bartender. It makes sense to be a waitress. But if you want to be in a different type of business, you may want to take a starting position in some kind of a role that you're interested in, right, so that you can at least start to make some progress towards that goal.
Yeah, it's smart. We had Danny Meyer on the show a little while back, and I remember what Danny said. He's like, I'm not in the restaurant business, I'm in the people business. Mm-hmm. And I think that probably, can be said about all these different industries. Ultimately, we're all in sales, and it's only a people business.
Yeah, well, yeah. The people are your biggest asset. It's your largest cost, but it's also your biggest asset, right? So from an asset and liability perspective, if you treat the people properly, we've heard it all the time, they'll treat the people that you do business with properly. Mm-hmm. But how do you really get that one first employee? How do you decide going from a paying job to where you're now paying somebody? And I think that transition is always the hard thing for young people. And what I always like to tell people, especially when I go to colleges or my own kids, is stop focusing on being an entrepreneur and focus on just like living, right? And just breathing and touching, seeing, smelling.
Right.
Everything around you has an opportunity to be improved upon. And if you look at every business, it's serving a purpose of improvement of something. Someone's life, someone's food, someone's car, someone's bedding, pillows. Yeah. You don't have to like reinvent the most unique widget. You just have to find a way to improve whatever that widget may be, right?
Yeah. It's about solving problems. It's about improving people's lives. I agree. So you're in sales. What were you selling? Was it still sort of furniture related or home furnishing related?
Right. Well, first I was a painter.
Okay.
I was selling jobs for myself and my friend, and we did really well throughout high school and early stages of college, but it was seasonal. It was during the summertime here in New York. You don't have a big season for painting outside homes. While I was doing that, my girlfriend at the time, her dad was in the fabric business.
Okay.
And he would always have people at his house. He was head of sales for a big company, and I would meet all these furniture people. And while I was doing that, he would always say to me like, oh, you get in the furniture business. If you got in even on the sales side, it's very entrepreneurial, and you can learn and grow from there.
Yeah.
And that was for many years. However, I was at a video store, which before Blockbuster, there was video stores.
Independent video? Yeah.
I was there, and I was always solicited by a guy that was running Shearson Lehman, which was a big, turned into Smith Barney. And he says, you'd be great at selling stocks. Come in and hang with me. So by having a job, like my mom always said, a guy walked in a video store and hired me.
Yeah.
So I started selling over the phone, making cold calls and closing deals. And I hated it. I really hated it. But I actually did pretty well at it.
Okay, so you're kind of Wolf of Wall Street guy.
Believe it or not, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but it was a boiler room operation in the basement. And you worked as you worked up and got more deals closed, they would bring you out of the basement, first floor, second floor, and then you would work your way closest to the managing director.
Yeah.
So I learned something there in terms of the ability to talk to people, right?
I just want to co-sign this advice that you're giving, which I think is gold. And if you're missing it, what Eugene is saying is like be in proximity of opportunities. So if you're overwhelmed with all these choices that you've got,
so true.
Just move your bones. Do something. Be in proximity of opportunities, because it can be a independent little video store, or it could be whatever you're doing, but the right person might walk in, and so when opportunity knocks, you've got to be ready to open the door. The other piece of advice is get closer to your dream. So if you want to work in sports, get close to some sort of sporting activity.
Exactly.
Whether it's
they look for
small or large, doesn't matter.
I really think everybody's looking for perfection, right? Like the perfect body, the perfect hair, the perfect job, the perfect life. When I grew up as a kid, nobody was thinking perfect. And I do think social media, and I do think the global pressures everywhere. It's a cop-out, though. At the end of the day, you don't have to be a victim to what's on your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I see that perfectionism thing, but I also just think it's about having it all mapped out and figured out in advance. So, perfect is one thing, but having it all figured out is another. And I don't believe in that either.
But what do you mean by figured out? Are you saying that you should have it figured out, or you feel
should not?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way you can. I just look at my own career.
Yeah.
And talking about yours, it's not a straight line from A to Z.
Exactly.
I zigzagged, and I've just been the opportunist.
But why do you think these young people and people even in their 30s and 40s that want to be entrepreneurs, why do they get so caught up in that perfect path? What's causing that?
Well, I'll ask you the same question, but I'll give you my 2 cents. I think they already see the end product, and they think, oh, I want that immediately. And so there's two things at play. One thing is an impatience, maybe I want it sooner than I'm willing to put in the work for it to take that long.
Yep.
There's that camp, but then there's also just the not knowing of what it actually takes. It turns out the only way to get wise, to get business experience, is to make mistakes and just do the work.
Agreed.
we had Gary Vaynerchuk on many times, and Gary's words ring through my ears always. And he says, you can't fake being good at push-ups.
Yeah.
You're either good at them or you're not. And the only way to get good at push-ups is just do the push-ups.
So there's a big word that we use around here. We have 4 words that everybody gets hired and everybody sticks around if they have a good quantity of these words.
Mm-hmm.
Humble, hungry, curious, and clever. Those are the 4 core values of our brand. And the reason we got to those 4 words is that in the very beginning stage, we had a lot of people leaving. But I had a group of people that stuck by me from like over the last 30 years of my career. I mean, we just have someone that's retiring after 32 years working with me.
Very cool.
Right? And I look back, I'm like, why does some people like hang out with me and some people like leave me? And so looking at the ones that left and comparing to the ones that were here, we recognized these 4 words. So they're not mission, they're not vision, they're just words that represent our culture.
Right.
Right? The number one thing that gets people in trouble every single time is the lack of curiosity and being clever.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did not grow up with Google. We didn't grow up with ChatGPT. We did not grow up with all of these touch points.
Yeah.
Right? So if you really think about what you're talking about and being impatient and all the things that these young people and also 30, 40-year-olds that are trying to start their own business,
yeah,
you're right. They see the end result. They don't see all the shit that we put in years and years or months and months or nights that I don't go to bed, that I'm reading and I'm learning constantly. Right? I'm in my mid-50s now. I tell the team here all the time, like, I'm spending more time learning about AI and what's going to happen to our business than you are. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be more affected than I am.
Well, yeah, and you're the future, by the way.
Yeah, like what's going on?
Yeah.
So I do think it's an impatience. I don't think it's a lack of intelligence. I don't think it's a lack of desire. But I do think too much is out there already, and they don't see what transpired to get what they see online.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Let's go back to that cleverness, because it sounds like what you're talking about is like resourcefulness, or just that idea that everything is figure-outable, you know, with the right amount of time and effort. And so break it down a little bit more.
So you're old enough to not be around. I mean, did you grow up with a cell phone? I don't know how old you are. Did you have a cell phone when you were
it was
in middle school and high school?
I went to college in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a cell phone when you were in middle school?
No.
Right? You actually had to figure out how to get home without Google Maps.
That's
or
right.
Get a ride, or from a friend if your mom didn't come and pick you up after school.
Yeah.
Like, you had to fend for yourself. But we're in a generational shift where you just had to have a cell phone and know how to prompt it. So in terms of like being like clever on how to get home, like, damn, I don't want to walk like shit, that's like 20 blocks. It's going to take me 30 minutes. Oh, well, I'm going to be friends with this guy who actually I can't stand, but I'm going to schmooze with him a little bit so I can get his mom to drop me off. Like,
sure.
You had to be resourceful.
Yeah.
Just to break it down to something stupid, right?
Yeah.
So now you have a phone, you have all of this technology around you. It in some ways, it just makes you less sort of curious and less creative to figure out how to get stuff done. So we're losing that piece of our DNA. Now, it's not going to stop AI, but there's going to be people powered with AI. They're going to kick your ass. And I can't understand, like, why are you not putting more effort? If you really want to be in this category of business, be so curious that you're going to eat everything you could possibly eat in around you, and taste everything and smell everything and touch everything. Like, if you're going to be in the food business and you don't love all that stuff and be creative and come up with a new creative type of restaurant concept,
yeah,
you got to be in it, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to study everybody else in your competition.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, in many ways, this moment right now, if we're talking about AI, it reminds me of 1997. I remember 1997 really well because I got one of those discs in the mail from AOL, and I was dialing up on the internet just like everyone else, and I started to experiment with creating my own little website, which would load one frame at a time. And it also reminds me of 2007 when I was at South by Southwest, and a little app called Twitter launches, and the whole kind of social media revolution was really kicking in. YouTube, I think, started 2 years before that in like '05, got acquired by Google in '06. Then the iPhone drops in 2007. Like, these are big, like, watershed moments. And I think we're in another one where everything is changing, but at the same time, everything and nothing is changing.
Yep.
Right? It's still the same thing. It's still about staying connected. It's still about relationships. It's still about humility, and
Totally.
you know, all of your core values. So I love that. Okay, so let's go back. You're selling. You're the Wolf of Wall Street. You're making calls. You know, buy low, sell high. Where did that take you from there?
So one, it teaches you how to get hung up 1,000 times,
Right.
and keep going.
Rejection,
right?
yeah.
So to me, I have no issue meeting somebody and asking for an order. I have no issue getting in front of people that I've never met before. So
Yeah.
it taught me a lesson that I could carry with me my whole life.
Yeah, it's a game of numbers, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that's more unique. As I look back and be more introspective, it also taught me all the stuff I don't like. I hated it,
Yes.
right? I excelled at it because I had no choice.
Yes.
But I got out of it as fast as I could because it wasn't tangible for me. Like, I recognized, like, until I could sell something that I physically could touch and feel, that I had a better understanding from, that's when I started to recognize, like, this is not for me, right?
Yes.
So I didn't want to be I didn't want to sell services. I didn't want to sell stuff I didn't understand. I also wanted to sell something that I believed in. And I really wasn't connected to what I was selling. It was just like, here's a bunch of stock we got to get rid of this week. That's how they used to do it. And you would dial to dump the stock. Good, bad, or indifferent, it didn't matter. That wasn't my job. My job was to get customers, to get to the brokers, to close the deals.
Yeah.
That was my job.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of what happens is people try to figure out what they want to do, and they forget to keep the list of all the things that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Right? And that can be broken down by two things. One is you start, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur and open up your own business, the things you don't like are the things you're going to suck at the most. You may have to do them in the beginning, but that's how I got to my first employee. All the things that I knew I didn't like and I wasn't that good at is the first hire I had.
Delegate.
100%,
Yeah.
right? Get away from it as fast as you can and keep putting all those hours into the stuff that you were passionate about, that you had an aptitude for.
Yeah.
So that, I wish I knew I wish I had that as a plan.
Yeah.
Right? But I didn't. It's just looking back, people are like, oh, that's so smart. You did all these great things. The reality was, it was just innate to get rid of the stuff I wasn't good at.
And who was that first hire? Was it a
32 years ago.
Was it a CFO or?
No, Linda Baker. She was a typesetter.
Okay.
A friend of a friend. I rented a crazy basement office because it was super cheap. It was $300 a month, and the person that rented to me knew this woman she knew that typesetting wasn't going to be a thing.
So is that graphic artist?
So I don't even know what typesetting is.
Yeah,
She was
like graphic art. Yeah.
She was a little older than me, so I'm not going to lie. There was two reasons I hired her. One, I couldn't rent a car because I was 18.
Hilarious.
And I couldn't buy a beer for a customer.
Okay.
So she was old enough to rent a car and buy a beer so I could take clients out.
That's great.
So that was one. Second thing is, when I looked up what typesetting is, you have to be very organized and you have to be like OCD, make sure everything is accurate. So when you're writing orders, containers and truckloads, I don't want to sit there and cube out a container. I'm terrible at that stuff.
Yeah.
My mind's like in 20 directions. So I had someone who's super organized, super able to focus on stuff, was diligent to get things done by deadlines, because typesetters also had a hit, like when magazines and so forth, they had deadlines. So those were the two things is the reason I hired her. And for 32 years, this woman's been by my side helping me build company after company.
Amazing.
And so she's finally on her last 6 months now. She's been working on retirement.
I love that story so much. I'll just kind of recap what I heard you say, and that is, again, the only way to get to eventually a feeling of fulfillment. And, you may be fulfilled for a couple of years or a decade or two, it doesn't matter. To reach that point where you feel like you're really clicking in your profession, you got to try some things on that might not fit.
Yeah.
And, it looks good in the window and you get it on, you're like, oh man, this is too tight. It's not working out. And that's okay. Like you gotta do that exercise in order to get to the one that actually fits and feels good, right?
It does, yeah.
And so that's such smart advice, and I would co-sign that as well. I've done that.
But before you leave that point, right? When you put on that shirt, let's say the shirt was $50 to $100, you still feel bad about like, what I'm going to have to like gift it to somebody else or donate it. You spend $50 to $70, $100. But what if it was a $2,500 suit and it was the last money you had to buy a suit? It makes you feel like a lot worse. So one of the things, just to think about what you're sharing, yes, you have to try on a lot of things to see what your size, what your look is, and what you feel good about. But be smart about what you're going to spend, right? You could go to H&M and go spend $20 on a shirt and figure out if that's your look and feel.
Yeah.
And work with it for a little while. And if it's not, you have extra money to go change. So in business, I think a lot of what I find is people take these big swings and then they get crushed and they get taken out at the knee. What I've learned, because I never had money, right? When you have like VC money and PE money, people go for big swings. They don't all win, as we all know.
Yeah.
But if you're truly an entrepreneur, then you're like bootstrapping it with friends and family. Be smart, be sensible. Don't blow all your money on the big thing that you think you're going to have, because it may be 20 steps to the left and you didn't see it.
Yeah.
So just keep in mind as you're trying things on and potentially they're not good, is do it in like small steps with low cost so that you have enough money to keep going, right?
I think that's great advice. I have a counterpoint to that, but I will definitely agree with you there that, failure, you really can't fail if you never give up, right? It's that old Babe Ruth quote, or at least Babe Ruth gets credit for that. And the people who really fail, the people who don't ever try, they're sort of lying to themselves or hiding, or the people, like you said, who fail too far, they jump out of the airplane and the parachute doesn't work, you get one shot at that.
Yeah.
And so I agree. Whenever you're evaluating a new venture, a new partnership, or whatever, you've got to do that sort of cost, risk to success analysis. Can I come back and fight another day if this doesn't go the way I think it's going to go?
Exactly.
Right. At the same time, I think we've also got to be careful of the sunk cost fallacy. So if you've been to law school and you spend $100,000 on law school and you're an attorney and then you're miserable, I also think it's okay that money is gone and lost, and maybe you're still in debt, but to pivot and to do something and find something you really love, as long as you've got a strategy and plan to get back to, zero and then beyond. Because a lot of people do, I think, stay in a job where they're miserable because they think, well, I've already been doing this for so long, Eugene. It's just like I'm stuck, But I don't buy that. I think you can reinvent yourself, and maybe should reinvent yourself.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack. So, number one, burning the boat concept. Like an Elon Musk, right? He burns. Yeah. He loves talking about burning the boat. There's a difference between burning the boat and having a plan to succeed versus I'm in a job, I'm a lawyer, I hate it. One is you had $100,000 education that's going to help you your entire life.
Right,
so
it's not lost.
It's not lost,
yeah,
right?
Right? It's a good point.
It's just not. And you're going to use it forever.
Everything. Contract negotiation, yeah. You
name it. Like, it drives me crazy when people are like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm graduating with a finance degree and I don't even understand what finance is. Well, you understand something. You didn't graduate with reasonably good grades and not learn something. But you're so focused on, I don't like finance because I don't want to sit behind a desk and I want to be out in the world. I do finance every day. Right. I do accounting every day. Yeah. I do law every day. Like, every day I do some part of whatever you took in school, you're going to need.
Right.
Right? So that's number one. Burning the boat is without question what most entrepreneurs do. I don't have like a B plan. People are like, oh, have a B plan. When I say like go out and buy a $20 shirt and figure out if it's your style, and maybe you buy 3 of them and test it out for a week as opposed to putting it on once and never having another one, is different than going out and buying a $2,500 suit.
Right.
And the reason for it is because I could still take the $2,500 and have a whole wardrobe. So it's just being more clever with spend.
Yeah.
Because if you don't break it down for young entrepreneurs or people that have jobs that don't want to work for somebody, if they don't understand, you don't need a lot of money. You just got to be clever, and you got to be smart on where you spend your money so that you can keep taking, like, inching along until you test enough to know that, hey, I got something sticky here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the difference between the two?
Yeah, I love that. That's
right?
good clarity.
But but make no bones, like, burn the boat that I do not want to be a lawyer. Like, that's okay to burn the boat.
Yeah.
And it's even okay if you don't even know exactly what in business you're going to do. You have to have some type of clue. Like, okay, all the stuff I don't like about lawyers, write it down. What is it that I don't like about being a lawyer? Because those will give you the breadcrumbs on what type of business role you would actually be happy in.
Yeah, they're all signals, right?
100%.
Yeah. That's great advice. I love it. Okay.
Can I just, I don't want to break your chops, but I got one thing. I don't give advice. I mean, I have to, this is something I learned early on. Nobody likes advice. As soon as you tell somebody or that feels like you should do this or you should do that, people turn that shit off. I don't know if you have kids. I got 3 kids. Every time I say should, it's like, oh, I'm so tired, Dad. I want to go home. I don't want to listen to you anymore. Yeah. It's really experience sharing that you're doing for the audience, right? Like, it's your experience, it's your guest experiences.
Yeah.
And what they're gleaming from experiences is they can kind of put themselves in that role and say, oh, that's a really good idea. So even in sales or building your own brand, the more you lean in to expressing an experience you had. You could be a 20-year-old in my mid-50s. I want to know what your experiences were. Now, if you told me, oh, Eugene, you should do this, what does a 20-year-old know?
Right.
You get what I mean? So just in your mind, it's just a little nugget that I've picked up throughout my career that someone taught me is I'm here to share my experience, not to give any advice, not to tell you should do anything.
Yeah, to me they're interchangeable, but point taken. And I think, the feedback that I hear from my audience is that it's sort of like the farmer's market. They're not going to buy everything there. They're cherry picking, right?
Exactly.
They're going to pick the fruit that they like based on where they're at, regardless of their age or experience level. But they want to take maybe a page from your playbook and try that out. But
one of the reasons I was excited about coming onto your podcast is that I have felt that that's sort of the formula of success is that you're laying it out there for them to snack on.
That's right.
But always remember, in business and in life, words are really powerful, right?
Agree.
So regardless of what the format is and how successful this podcast has become and the guests that you bring out for your guests to see, I just, in my mind, the word, again, we're learning every day, right? You're learning, I'm learning. Try to avoid, especially if you're in business, telling somebody you should buy from me.
Yes.
You should like me. You should. Because it's really helpful if you just give people who you are through experiences, and then they will decide what parts and pieces. No different than the podcast that you provide people today, right? So it's the same thing, but those words really mean something.
I agree with you. I think your point is well taken.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's progress in the story. Now you're at the point where you're figuring more things out. Where are we now in the chronology?
Yeah. So, just obviously, I'm less interested in my story, but I know people do like to understand through storytelling. So I'm working as the Wolf of Wall Street, to your point, with Shearson Lehman. I didn't like it, and I remember my girlfriend's dad at the time talking about the furniture business. Mm-hmm. So I was cleaning his gutters because my girlfriend, the way I always would date girls is I'd get the parents to love me. So I would cook. I'm Italian, so we would cook. So I cooked with my mother-in-laws. I would clean gutters if I had to. Sure. Anyway, to be able to
be of value
and to keep their daughter out later than their curfew. Sure. Right. That was my innuendo, my reason for doing it.
Yeah, it's a strategy. I get it.
It worked. So one day I was literally cleaning the gutters. I came off the roof, and my girlfriend's dad at the time said, I'm having a dinner party this weekend. You should come. I have all of the executives coming in from all these different fabric and furniture companies. Okay. Because when you buy furniture, you have, like upholstery, you have to put fabric on it. Or
Yeah.
if you're buying a mattress, you put fabric on
The
it.
swatches with the bolts of
Exactly.
fabric. Yeah, I get it.
So I go to the dinner, I'm hanging out, and I'm a young guy, and I made a good impression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sitting with a bunch of guys. And so the next couple of days later, he's like, hey, everybody thought you were great. I want to introduce you to this one company. They're looking for a rep. It's in Mississippi. Now,
Okay.
I never left New York. Like,
Yeah.
again, I grew up with no money, single mom. We drove everywhere. So I look on a map, I'm like, holy shit, that's like really far. I'm going to have to get on an airplane.
Yeah, and
They're like-
Mississippi is quite a difference.
Quite a difference,
Yeah.
especially like 30 years ago. Okay. So I get on an airplane, I fly down, I won't spend much time on this exact part of the story, but I get down there, I go to the factory, and I'm blown away by what I'm seeing. Like, this is a guy from New York in the middle of Mississippi. But they were human beings. And the guy's like, okay, thanks for the interview. That was the end of it. I'm like, well, where am I going with this thing?
Okay.
He's like, well, we're going to think about it. So I looked over. His name was Mr. Doty. I said, Mr. Doty, in all due respect, you do no business in the New York market. Zero. You're paying me zero for this job. It's 100% commission. I don't know anything about the furniture business. I agree with you. My girlfriend's dad knows the business really well. He lives in New York. He's going to help me teach me what a sofa is, what a love seat is. So you got him teaching me. Even if I fail, at least people will know your brand, because at least I'm calling on accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you're right. I got no risk.
Yeah.
So he sent me home with a big bag of swatches and a bunch of what's called C prints, these giant like pictures. They had nothing else, but that's how you sold, and a price list. So I come home, I sit down with my girlfriend at the time's dad. I'm like, okay, I got the job. Now what? So we got in a car. He drove me to Levitt's Furniture on Long Island.
Sure.
Siemens Furniture.
You'll love it
and
at
Macy's.
Levitt's, yeah.
You'll love it at Levitt's, right?
Yeah.
And he started, that's a sofa, that's a roll arm, that's a track arm.
Yeah.
And literally for hours we just spent doing it.
Learn it from the ground up. Gotcha.
So I'm like, okay, now what? He's like, well, there's a bunch of furniture companies. You got to call them and go show them the pictures and the swatches. I'll even go with you one time.
Yeah.
So we went to a small store, show him that, and the guy didn't buy anything, but I understood how to transact.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, I figured it out.
You figured it out. Yep.
And the number one thing that got me where I needed to be was Siemens Furniture, which had at the time, let's say 50 stores, went to like 100 stores.
Okay.
And everybody wanted to sell them. And I looked at the yellow pages and said, wow, if I sell this one company doing all this business, I could make a lot of money making commission.
Yeah.
So I just stalked the buyer like crazy. And there was a trade show. And I'll never forget Alan Rosenberg coming up the escalator. I'm standing because I heard he was going to be in the building. And I cornered him and I dragged him in. And I was like the superstar for the market. And that's how things started to happen. I finally started meeting, people of influence in the industry.
Yeah. Amazing. You literally made it happen.
But that's all you have to do, right? Like it goes back to code calling. Like I hated it, but it made me confident enough where I could go talk to people.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I love that story. It's so old school, but yet so new school. Like this, nothing's changed. Like you still got to do the same thing. And it's about relationships. It's about people, right?
Totally.
I love that so much. So this series is called Behind the Brand. We talk about brands a lot. I'm going to ask you a two-part question, which is, what is your definition of a brand? And maybe that's contrast by like what's a commodity, what's not a brand, and then what is the BedGear brand? Because I want to hear the ramp up to that story as well.
Yeah. So, what is a brand? I say, what is a brand versus a label or a popular name of a company, right? So to me, a brand is something that I laugh a little bit because I'll never forget someone saying, until they tattoo your name on their body, like Harley Davidson, you're really not a brand. So in my mind, I don't look at like Apple. I actually look at a Harley Davidson because how many brands do you know that you would literally get tattooed on your body? Like that's pretty insane.
Yeah,
right?
I'm welcome. You're welcome to debate this with me. I have strong opinions about brand. I'm in your camp on Harley though, for sure. Maybe not the Harley in the last couple of years, but yeah,
again,
it's an iconic brand for sure.
It's just there's something unique about it, right?
Yeah.
And I've never in my life, I don't have tattoos, but when you think of tattoos and all the things you could have, clearly someone felt a certain movement towards a brand and what it represented to who they were, willing to put it on their body. So I just use that as my sort of benchmark.
Yeah,
because it's a pretty high mark, right?
Yeah.
So putting that aside, I think the emotional feeling towards something, the promise in terms of what they're signing up for, like what is, when you're signing up for being part of a brand or what you believe to be a brand, you're signing up for who they are, what they stand for, because they represent now not just, they represent who you are. Like what is your life, like when you're thinking of a Harley on your body, like that's a strong statement. You want to be associated with that, right? Compared to just buying a product. Like a Microsoft is always an easy one to poke at because it's an amazing company, does amazing things, but nobody feels connected like that it defines who they are.
Right.
Right?
Yep. So
that's how I look at brands. So instead of me giving you a definition, I'd rather give you an example of what I've seen.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm in that same camp. I agree. I think the other thing that I would add to that is that a brand has to be distinct. Mm-hmm. And it has to be different. These days, from the beginning of time, people try and create products that they think are better, and turns out better is not actually better. It's the same as everyone else. Our car has an engine that's 500 horsepower. Well, ours has 510 horsepower. The body design might be different, but it's basically the same, right? And so, really, this distinct or this onlyness. One of my, mentors, Marty Neumeier, talked about this idea in his books about onlyness. We're the only, and then fill in the blanks. When you have this onlyness, and I think of a score, like a score, 1 through 10, 10 being the best. When you're towards the upper end, 7, 8, 9, 10, you really have a distinct brand. You're different, and it's a shorthand for what you stand for. You're right. I think it does represent your values. And then I think you are holding up a mirror to your customers, and they can see themselves being represented by your brand.
Completely.
Yeah.
So when you think through this like car analogy or clothing or you pick any category, there's some categories that don't even have sort of a brand. Go back to like the concept of commodity, right? Where you don't really care. You're just going to buy cheap because it's meaningless as it relates to it's just milk or it's just bread or it's just this.
Well, here we
right?
are in your showroom. Beds are a commodity.
Huge.
So are sneakers, and cars for that matter. Anything
totally
can be a commodity.
And I grew up in a commodity business, which is the furniture business. You ask people, what are they? What's their sofa? They don't even remember the store they bought it from, let alone who made it. And
right.
most furniture is brandless. So growing up around that and seeing like you were a dime a dozen, and I had to fight every day to keep a dining room on the floor or a bedroom on the floor or a sofa on the floor.
Yeah. Because
someone would knock it off for $10 less, and the buyer would say, "Well, you're $10 too much. Too much. I can buy it cheaper now."
Right.
That's what I'm like. This sucks. Like it's constantly you have to sell every day. And so when the opportunity came for me to jump into the sleep business, which again I'm a newbie. It's like 12 years ago. Like nobody in their right mind thought we would sell over 33 million Americans in the last 12 years. Like that's a lot of households in America. Like
for sure.
It's like 10% of America's population has a BedGear product in their home.
Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah.
We became huge with selling product, but we weren't focusing on the brand piece. But when we started to dive in and see like, wait a minute, there's a certain type of person that's buying from us. Let's start to define what the brand looks like,
right.
So that not only are they buying it in the moment, but we make that memory that you speak about so that they continue to want to buy from us, right? So I think a lot had to do with my experience in the furniture business, realizing that it was not brand driven and it was commodity driven, and it was just pure style. You liked it or you didn't. So the way we did BedGear was totally different. First and foremost, I knew I couldn't go on the shelves at Bed Bath & Beyond or Target or Walmart because there's no sales process, right? When you walk in there, you're going to buy either because you know the brand already, or you're going to buy it because it's the cheapest thing you can buy.
Or, if you got the right placement, The end cap kind of matters sometimes.
But if it's an end cap, which they typically put brands that are aware, or some like go broke price. But I was neither. I wasn't a brand because nobody knew who I was other than the people that bought it, and I wasn't the cheapest. So I immediately realized like the only way I'm going to be successful is I need advocates. I need people that are going to actually present this product in a way that makes you feel so passionate about it, right? So it would be like, just stupid Harley Davidson comment, right? If I put Harley Davidson in a place where everybody rode bicycles and played tennis every day, and I decided to put a Harley Davidson dealership, the first one in that neighborhood, how successful would I have been?
Yeah, it may not work very well. Yeah.
Might not have, right? So I would have to go find places where people could relate. The free air, people, the mountains. Just think of like going up to New Hampshire on a bike with the air flow through your. So I want to be in that environment because that's where people are going to relate to what I'm doing.
Yep.
So I went to mattress and furniture stores because when people go buy mattresses, they have salespeople. So if I could go work with mattress stores and teach the mattress salespeople the importance of selling sleep and not just the mattress. So we started with the sheets, the pillows, and the protectors. Because when you think about a mattress, it only represents 70% of your overall comfort. Your head and shoulders never touch the mattress. So people are buying mattresses laying down. 68% of the people sleep on their side. And they were buying pillows standing up at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Sure.
The two never collided. So our right to win, our reason for going to market was I needed salespeople to be able to present a very logical thing to a consumer. And they're like, oh my God, you're right. And we're starting to realize that the pillow was a huge improvement on people's lives.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where the most important thing is like, what's your strategy to go to market, right? Just because it doesn't sell at Target or Walmart or Bed Bath or Macy's doesn't mean that you're a failure. Mm-hmm. So be smart and clever and say, wait a minute, where am I going to have am I going to spend $100 million to get my brand out there and lose money like a lot of companies do and then hope to make money 10 years from now? Is that my plan? And if I have 100 million, great. But if you have zero and every dollar counts, I need to make money on the day I sell something.
Yeah, back to your shirt analogy, which is, don't go broke.
Exactly.
Going out of the gate. A couple questions. So were you priced as a premium product?
Yeah, so we never won because we didn't have the volume to be commodity. Right? I started with selling one pillow, one sheet, one protector. So right out of the box, I share this all the time. I talk about toilet paper. Everything has an ROI in my mind. So when I started out, it was me. I had one roll of toilet paper. When I hired a second person, that roll of toilet paper would start to need to be replaced more regularly, okay. Right? When you get to 10 people, do you need 10 rolls of toilet paper, or do you have an economy of scale at some point? So it's a silly analogy, but I've even said this at Wharton when they had me speak to their group of undergrads, because a lot of companies get started with VC money. So you have seed money. But there's also now this new trend of like bootstrapping companies together. So toilet paper is a good analogy because you have a few things. Either someone's stealing it. If you have 10 people and 10 rolls of toilet paper and you're running out a lot quicker than you thought, they're either stealing it or somebody's sick, right? So you're going to know a lot about people when it comes to how much toilet paper a company goes through.
Sure.
So
I'm following you.
You're following the craziness, yeah. Right? So you have to manage your expenses and your inventory. So with me, I knew that if I sold one pillow, if I lost money, I'd have to sell 3 pillows to make up the loss.
Right.
So I made sure that there was a small profit in everything I did initially. And to answer your question, I was not low end. I was now considered more of a high end price and product. But my service was significantly better because my pillows were built and designed if you were a back, stomach, or side sleeper. The rest of the industry, even to this day, they all do the same thing. They build one pillow, they build one mattress, and they say it's one size fits all. I guarantee you that your mattress at home has the same feel on both sides, right? And do you know what sheets or what pillows you sleep on?
Well, a few years ago I didn't until I got real serious about my sleep. So you're preaching to the choir now, someone who cares more about health and wellness and sleep, and
exactly.
I had to figure that all out myself. But yeah, I understand what you're talking about.
So we're the company that brought that to the mattress and furniture companies. to this day, most of them just try to sell mattresses. But what we try to sell is a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
A mattress is only one component of it. So that, a little storytelling, but it's so important to recognize that if you don't understand where you're going to be successful in terms of distribution, and you don't have an understanding of how to go to market, that's where a lot of companies fail, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm going back to this term onlyness. So you're the only sleep brand that, and then fill in the blanks.
Yeah, we are the only sleep brand that is personally fit to your body type and sleep position.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the only brand that focuses on 100% airflow of every single product we make. And we are the only brand that it takes any mattress that you buy or you sleep on, and we can actually convert it into a product that'll help have better airflow, and our pillows will be fit to your body type, but also the type of mattress you're sleeping on. If you buy from BedGear, everything, we match our pillows to our mattresses, to our sheets, to our comforters. But the biggest problem people have, there's two things. One is they don't have the proper spine alignment. They toss and turn because things become painful at night, shoulders, hips, knees, and so forth. And the second thing is temperature.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody that you're selling today, they're all focused on one thing, which is you got to be cold in bed. It is absolutely not true. Anybody who's cold in bed is miserable. Anybody who's hot in bed is miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always someone compromising. And if you're trying to sleep with somebody, either pets or humans, you now put two people in bed together. They're 97 to 98 degrees, their bodies. And then you put a cover on them. And then you try to get them to sleep and love each other in the morning. Really freaking hard to do, right? So that's when you say the only, like we figured that shit out early.
Yeah.
That you just have to give the customer individual comfort, even if they sleep together,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So are you noticing more competitors jumping into the space, trying to, grab a piece of that onlyness, or?
Yeah, so what we love is that everybody is finally either trying to knock us off in terms of look and feel, right? So we have 300 patents and trademarks, which is another important piece to the business. So early on, when you see something that you have that's unique and different, go and write a patent, even if it's a provisional patent. Go get your trademarks. Go do the things that you forget to do, and then you have an oh shit moment where you have all this cool stuff and you can't protect it.
Right.
Now you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right?
Because from the consumer standpoint, it's really hard. There's a sea of options.
Yep.
Right. And it's very difficult to see what you're describing as so unique and distinct, because it doesn't look that way from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
It's like I'm overwhelmed with the multiple choices.
And you're saying in the industry as a general rule?
From a consumer standpoint, if I'm like, okay, I need a new mattress because, and I'll tell you my personal story real quick. I've shared it quite a bit on the pod and in my writing. I would say about 8 years ago, my body was changing. I was somehow waking up feeling like I got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
I did a sleep test, figured out I had mild apnea, and I went to the doctor. Of course, the doctor prescribed a CPAP machine, and I tried it for, I think, 6.5 days. And then I said, I'm not doing this ever. This is the worst thing I've ever done. I need to figure this stuff out on my own. So I went on this journey to try and, hack my own sleep, figure out what was happening. I bought a new mattress. I bought a new pillow. I tried, the cold therapy. I tried lots of different things. Got back in the gym, started eating differently. Anyway, slowly but surely, I figured out that sleep was the gateway. Fitness and nutrition were the other, 3 little legs on that table. And that was the way I was going to feel better. I did those 3 little things, got it in shape, and pretty much the apnea went away. But I did end up sleeping on my side, got a new pillow. Anyway, it was really, really difficult to figure out what was the right choice. And, I'm still always looking for better ways to optimize my sleep. Yeah. I don't always sleep 100%, especially when I travel. That's the other part, too. It's like when you travel and you're in your strange bed in a hotel, it's like, your sleep is wrecked.
Completely.
which is another problem to solve. But yeah, so I appreciate you saying how detailed and unique it is, but from a consumer standpoint, it's very hard to tell.
Well, you have objective and subjective,
Yeah.
and sleep is personal, right? So again, you should have this pillow, you should have this bed, going back to experience sharing and not forcing people, was the premise of when we started to realize, like, wait a minute, this industry's got it wrong. They're focused on their factories and how to be efficient in making money compared to building a product specifically to a customer's needs. So what we discovered is creating a modular manufacturing. So all of our trademarks and patents, everything we did, took us years. If you don't protect it, you could spend millions of dollars on creating product, and before you even get to market in any sizable way to be able to actually make a profit, all that stuff has already been picked up by a larger competitor.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So why I bring up the patents and trademarks is that you need time to test and try product and improve it, but protecting the core of what your idea is. So early and often, one of my original people I brought into the company, she was smart enough to go out and start writing pretty basic patents to protect us. That gave me the time to build what you see today, right? That was a bunch of years ago. So one, from a business perspective, pay attention to what's unique and different between your it could be a tagline, it could be a product, it could be a method in how you're building your product. Pay like really good attention to that. I wasn't smart enough to do it, but if I didn't have this person by my side that understood this piece, she went to business school, she had other jobs, she worked for Home Depot and Bed Bath, so she knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
And so on her own, she was just doing all this stuff. And I never forget, I'm like, then we hired a lawyer. I'm like, what are you spending this money for? She's like, I got to now have these things officially filed. Like, we got to get this shit done. So thank God, she was smart enough to say, like, stop complaining, take a little of the money and protect it. So it gives you time. You have a good mind about this, Eugene. You just need more time to figure it out. And what we figured out is that when you like something subjectively, you need to still have the objective piece for it to be the right fit. And what I mean by that is, like, you look like you're probably a 42, 44 jacket in terms of your shoulder width, right? I'm a 44, so you and I are about the same, like, width on the top. And you sleep on your side, and it looks like from your gestures you sleep on your right side more than your left side, right?
Yeah, I switch, but yeah.
You do. So even though you switch, like most side sleepers, because that's what we do, where you spend the most of your time, you will see that you gesture your head to that side. And I would even tell your audience, if you stand up straight, look in the mirror, and then move your head to the left or the right, you will see where you spend more time, because it naturally goes further to the side that you sleep on.
Interesting.
And that's because your pillow and your mattress aren't assigned the right type of materials to fill that gap between your head and shoulder. And a lot of women have hypertension on their back because they sleep on their tummies, and they stick their hands underneath where their breastbone is to take pressure off of their chest. So if you have a larger chest, you can't like lay on your stomach without having some ability to take the pressure off. And that creates a C and puts that hypertension on your lower back. So having the wrong pillows make a huge problem for you, right?
Yeah.
And if you're having like sleep apnea, if your head on a pillow that's too soft, the more your head falls back, your airways start to get blocked.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's as simple as the right pillow and mattress can actually start to help and improve some of your snoring and some of your lack of oxygen.
Yeah, totally agree.
So that's when we had the only company, back to your only, we're the only company that fits you for the proper pillow based off of your fact that you're a back, stomach, side sleeper, and if you're a small, medium, or large body type. And to this day, we're still the only company that has a profile such as that. We go from a 0, 1, 2, or 3. So we have 4 sizes. And then we have half sizes. Our pillows are reversible. So when you flip the pillow, and this came later because we had people on the phone like, it's still too tall. It's too low. It's not this. It's not that. So years of just that data, we're like, wait a minute, let's make a 2-sided pillow, make the other side softer, and make it come down slightly so that at home they could flip it. So now I have a soft side and a firm side. I have a slightly lower side and a slightly higher side, all in one size. Do you follow the way we did it? So you have like 8 sizes with 4 sizes.
Very clever.
And then you just choose your pillow base if you like it soft, if you like it firm, if you like it medium. And then based off of your mattress, our mattresses don't come one feel. You can choose on both sides of the bed completely different feels. So we don't use air because air is miserable, right? Because you have air beds, which are basically camp mattresses with foam on the top. The challenge you have with that is that when you get them to a really soft position, you don't have any support. Your body looks like a C, right? Because your weight is in the center of your body.
Right.
So that when you make it soft, you don't realize, but your feet and head are up higher than your body, which is not a comfortable long-term solution.
Right.
All of ours have individual coils, but we nest the coils, and you can choose left or right and actually program the bed how you want to sleep. So those are really our two, like the only things that you speak about. And then the last thing is everything you put on top of the mattress and on top of you, which is your sheets and your comforters. Those are all airflow rated. Every single fabric, every single thing that we make, we test with third-party testing to optimize the amount of air that moves in and out of your sleep environment. Because that microclimate, if you sleep alone, you're 98 degrees. Under those covers, it gets to 103 to 105. If you put two people, it can get to 140 to 150 degrees under your sheets. That's a lot of heat and moisture for you to navigate while you're trying to get a good night's sleep. So those are when you ask, like, hey, why BedGear? Like, what do you only do? That's all we focus on.
Yeah.
Right?
So maybe the closing statement, what I'd like to hear is maybe one major lesson learned. You know, some people will call it failure, the F word. They don't like to talk about it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, right? So as long as you keep going, as long as you figure it out, it's this, you're on the other side of it. Is there one lesson that you learned at BedGear in order to sort of get to where you are now? So,
yeah, I mean, a lot of lessons, right? I mean, BedGear has really made me, to be perfectly frank, even both, not just professionally, but personally. I'm a changed person.
Can you give us an idea of the scale of the company? You don't have to give us, revenue numbers,
Sure.
but like, is this a 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure, 12-figure? Like,
Yeah.
in the context of things.
We are a top 10 company. So if you look at like the rankings of the 10, we're in the top 10, even though we don't publish our numbers. We have shipped over 33 million. This year we'll ship probably 2.5 million customers this year, just to put it in perspective in America. We're now in 39. We'll be in 42 countries by the end of the year. So we have all that growth as well.
And that distribution is through other retailers?
Correct.
And about what's the number on that? Like,
we have 850 retailers in America that carry BedGear.
Okay. So almost 1,000. Okay.
Yeah, and then we have our whole direct-to-consumer brand that works with our retailers to now we're advertising to get people to know what we do.
Sure.
But to answer your question about like what I've sort of learned, because I think it's an important piece, is that you got to eliminate the emotional decision making. The number one, all entrepreneurs, especially on the sales and marketing side, I am so emotional. Like everything runs through my emotions.
Yeah.
And in the last couple of years, the success that I'm starting to see here is not because of how good I am. It's how I've become less emotional and have become more like calm and realize like, wait a minute, I don't have to fire that email off. I don't have to be pissed off and make a decision in the moment. I don't have to be upset because a retailer decided not to buy from me today. Like everything was in the moment through emotion.
Yeah.
If you could just take a deep breath and relax, and if you have the time, sleep on it, right? And just chill for a second and let like reality kind of check in with you.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much more advanced you can make your life.
Yeah. So maybe in closing here, let's go back to your mom and give me one of these lessons that she taught you that you haven't forgotten.
So, growing up with a single mom, I didn't even realize what that meant. But when I look around the world and how people always say, oh, she's a single mom, I really have an affinity for it. When my dad passed, there was 3 of us, my sister at 3, I was the oldest at 15 and 2 in between. And it was she picked us up and said, okay, we got to go. We got to keep moving. And so my mom taught us a couple lessons. One was never be a victim, right? And when I think of that today, it's amazing, but you can easily fall into that trap of using everything that happened to you or happening to you as to why you can't move forward. And I get emotional about it, but I think about it all the time. Like my mom, I'm sure she had like sleepless nights, like how is she going to feed these 4 kids? And she never once, like ever, stopped. She just got up and went to work. And we figured it out. And I think living around that, of not being around someone who is a victim or felt like something, like she was, disabled in any way by his passing, just taught us a really important lesson. And I'll never forget, she was always so proud of me. She passed a few years ago. And she came and she saw BedGear. She's like, what, why did you do this? Like, what's wrong with the furniture business? And oh my God, and we're getting all this press and people are loving it. Like, she was so proud. She's like, do you understand what your name is? I said, what are you talking about? She says, being an Italian woman, she's like, your last name means to bed. I said, what are you talking about? A is two. Letto is bed in Italian. She says, and she was not joking. She's like, this is your destiny.
Yeah,
like, you were supposed to do this.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, there's no way. So I looked it up, and we can't figure out, because the way the Italians operate is like, you could be someone that was making mattresses. That's why you were called, that's the go see Aletto, and you got that name. But then when I was in Italy and I told the story, they said, well, it may not be because you were making beds when you were your ancestry. It could have been you were really a sleepy family and they were making fun of you. And they were not joking. So we don't really know why our last name is sort of this concept of being in bed or to bed. But so that was my big proud moment with my mom.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man,